What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. And we have a very interesting topic for you all. And the topic tonight is how the past can impact the future. Uh, there's a lot of dialogue that can go along with this, and we're focusing on relationships and your past relationships or things that you have done. May have not been the most proudest things that you have done or the most honorable things that you have done, but we're going to show you and tell you all about how your past can catch up with you in the dating world and
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah. And maybe even highlight some ways that your past can affect you aside from, just sexual wise, but other ways too that it can impact your future and your future relationships in particular. But this actually was inspired by a great question that we received that brought up this topic that we haven't even talked about before. So it's pretty exciting to be able to talk about something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up really quick so we can start the reading and answer this question right along with having some dialogue on a very interesting topic, like you said. So, subject: what can I do about a past I can't change? I was dating this guy I really liked, and things were going well until we got to the stage where we were being open and honest about our past relationships and experiences. I guess I was a little too honest because after telling him about some of my sexual experiences and partners, he now has completely started to act differently. He doesn't hit me up as much anymore, and he's really short with me. So I'm pretty sure he's going to stop talking to me because he wasn't like this at all before the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I had my share of wild nights, and I'm certainly no virgin, but all that is in the past. This makes me not even want to talk about my past with any more guys, but it sucks because that means I'm not able to be open and honest. Is there anything I can do to not lose a man because of my past? And why does that even matter if I'm ready to be in a committed relationship?
Wow, that does matter. That is a fully loaded question.
Yeah.
Now, let me take you all through the psyche of a man and understanding what he thinks of when he hears these type of things. Now, she talks about I had my share of wild nights and certainly no virgin, but all that is in the past. Understand this, what's going on and why he is triggered to the point to where he doesn't even want to bother dealing with her. Truth be told is that he had intentions on actually building a relationship with this female, to be honest with you. And I can tell that he is a man who has standards, and those standards dealing with body count. And it does matter what people say, body count doesn't matter or whatever the case may be. In the eyes of a man who is fully committed to settling down with a woman that he likes, it does matter. And let me tell you why. One of the reasons why is the fact that he doesn't want to picture or see his wife being dominated by another man. And that's the reason why a lot of men don't necessarily like to date women who have a partner that they know about or know of, because that's kind of something that he may periodically think of, and it dwells on the ego, of course, of the man, and he doesn't want to necessarily have to question himself about his performance versus the previous guy. That's one reason. Also, too, in general, men do want women who are more exclusive in the dating market. They don't want women who have been through a lot of guys, or a lot of guys been through a lot them rather, and and they don't want a woman to have that many um, sexual partners or encounters, because of course that devalues your sexual marketplace. I know that we have heard this in the red pill community numerous times, but there is such a thing. There
Yeah.
is such a thing of a sexual marketplace. They
Yeah.
don't want to have to think about raising children with a woman that everybody in the town has slept with and seeing what that looks like. Now, you may say that, oh, no, that doesn't matter. If he really loves her, then he should be with her. But you have to understand that there is a mental component dealing with this. This man doesn't want to deal with the mental stress that may have to go on if he see multiple people in the neighborhood that he may know who have possibly been with this woman.
Mm.
And those are things that he has an option to choose, as men choose relationships. Men don't necessarily have to choose you because you've been with everybody and he knows all these guys that you've been with. Understand that that is a detriment to your sexual market value.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that's a detriment to your value overall, because people do change. But in the eyes of a man who's really serious about settling down with somebody, that raises a red flag. One of them is loyalty. He's not sure whether or not you'll be loyal to him because you've had so many partners. And then also, too, do you have any connections with these people and that he has to deal with? He doesn't want to have to run into town and then you both are out and then you run into an ex and then you keep running into exes and things like that. That's
Yeah.
embarrassing to him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So these type of things do have a stigma when it comes to relationships, how many people you've been with. And unfortunately, we live in a world to where there may be a double standard for women and men, but more often than not, I think that some women do consider men's body counts. I don't know any woman that said that she'll take a man who slept with over 300 people. I don't know that.
Or all sexual experiences in general.
Right.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, to be honest with you. And these are things that young people have to consider before getting into these relationships or having relations with multiple people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to consider in dealing with that.
Yeah, I think about, from a woman's perspective, I kind of think about just the overall size of your market, right? Because the reality is, when you're searching for a spouse, the size of your market is really restricted by the availability of people who want someone like you, just like you, pretty much. So if this includes all types of things, from your, what you look like, your occupation, your spiritual, political beliefs, all of that plays a part. But sexual history also, it can decrease your market in the sense of how many men are then willing to want to make you their wife. So your sexual history being a very interesting personal quality that you make, it's a choice that you make. And once it's done, it's done. So it's beyond your control at that point, but it really has a big impact on the size of the individuals who would want to then engage with you after you've done all this. And then as a result, your probability of finding someone who wants to be with you is even limited even more in a world where 1 in 4 Black women will marry. So think about the amount of men out of that pool when you're looking at, all right, that one Black woman, 1 in 4 who would get married. Then you look at, all right, how many sexual partners they had. And then that also can dwindle down the percentage of men. So if their percentage was like, 50%, this is just a random number, but say their market was like 50% of men, and then all of a sudden they engage in too many, sexual partners, their market then dwindles down to like 20% of men who will actually consider you to get married. And that's a small market,
Right. As if you can find those men.
Yeah.
But also understand too that, especially for women, when men hear this type of stuff, when you have a high body count, a lot of men just automatically put you in the friend box or either the booty call box, to be honest with you. And that's very unfortunate. And what this lady asked, what was her question? Couldn't she find somebody and be honest with them?
Hold on, sorry, the thing switched. It says, is there anything I can do to not lose a man because of my past? And why does that even matter if I'm ready to be in a committed relationship?
The answer to that question, no, there's nothing you can do, to be honest with you, other than lying. And then you're going to have to deal with that karma and that guilt in that relationship, because it's going to carry with you. I'm going to be straightforward with you about that. Women shouldn't lie. Nobody should lie to their partners, because it's going to eat you up as far as those lies.
Yeah.
And then what was the last question? Is there
Why
Why?
does that even matter if I'm ready to be in a committed relationship?
Because it matters to the person who's dating you.
Yeah.
The man holds the keys to the relationship. He puts the ring on the finger. Once a man finds out your body count, he's going to take that ring back to the store and get his money back. That's the bottom line. I'm sorry, we just live in a double standard world, and things like that do matter. They do matter. Now, you might, people may think that, oh, wouldn't you want a woman or a partner who's sexually experienced? No, that is not necessarily a thing, because you all can learn sex in a relationship together.
Right.
Those are things that you all can do together, not having to have sex with somebody and then a man thinking, who else has she done this with? Those are the type of things that guys think about. And then don't get into a situation where you're very experienced and a man isn't that experienced, and you no longer want to do these things anymore that you used to do with other people.
Yeah.
He's going to feel like he was left out of it, even though you didn't even know him back then. So that's going to draw some sort of competition or resentment within the relationship that you're getting into. So the bottom line is don't keep your body count as low as possible.
Yeah, especially in this sexually liberated world society that we kind of live in, especially over here in the Western society. That's big. And even past sexual encounters certainly lead to a stigma and a discrimination that has to be accepted. There's nothing you can do about that, especially if you did sex work or something like that. You may be judged in the past or even excluded by those potential partners or spouses even more. So that just dwindles your whole market pool down a lot. So yeah, you just gotta be really mindful of that.
I mean, you gotta be smart about it.
Yeah.
Just be smart, and you hear that a lot, especially that girl says she had a wild past, and pretty much a lot of females in their youth, they just go from one man to another.
Yeah.
Those things are frowned upon. How are you going to try to explain this to a husband, a man who wants to be a husband, and it's not going to work out that well for you?
It makes me think of that video we just seen on World Star right before doing this shortly. What was it? What's her name?
Sukihana.
Yeah, her. And she was, I don't know, whatever she was on. I don't know. We don't watch that stuff, but she was crying, and I'm assuming because of
her past
and how she was being discriminated. She's being judged. She's being excluded from certain stuff, certain, people or whatever, just because of that.
Because that stigma is there. You see these people and they just look like what? Everybody say thoughts. Yeah. That's all you look at these people. You have no respect for these people.
Yeah, you don't need that whole thing.
They enter a room, and then all of a sudden people just think that you're fun and games. No one takes you seriously.
Yeah.
And then that is all.
Yeah, because you got a record of that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. These type of things follow you.
It's real life. This is grown up stuff. And to be honest, a lot of this is also going to impact your own personal self-esteem, because you may feel ashamed. You may be embarrassed just based off of, especially if you did sex work, but even just your sexual experiences in general. This woman doesn't sound so much like she's ashamed or embarrassed, but after this interaction, it may, lead to that.
I mean, that's very typical. Look at that last question. Go back to that last question again. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But she's asking, why does that even matter if I'm ready to be in a committed relationship? By her saying that, she doesn't want to take responsibility. She doesn't want to take accountability for what she's done in the past. You hear this a lot with women. Women say this, not all women, but those women who've done this in the past. Why does my past even matter today? And I've explained this already. I don't want to have to go through it again, but it really does to those females out there that want to portray these rap lyrics of these females that are out there and all this type of stuff. The least of your worries, if you're in this type of lifestyle, is it shouldn't be not finding somebody. It should be staying alive. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Should be staying alive, because
not getting pregnant,
your consequences,
STDs, all that.
There's consequences to follow with having multiple encounters sexually with people that you barely even know, and those one night stands and things like that, of that nature, doing all of this stuff without the intention of being married.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can happen that you just cannot take back. Whether there's diseases, or that could equivalent to you losing your life
Mhm.
and making mistakes and things in which you have no way of trying to get out of.
Yeah.
You
Think of trying to explain a disease to a spouse. That's even harder. Like,
right, exactly.
that's tough. Like, these are real decisions people got to think about and understand that it makes me wonder, have you always wanted to be in a committed relationship?
No, not at
Because,
all. You see people, coming out of your adolescence and teenage years, you getting, you hear these things, you experience and do all these other stuff, and you don't think of, while you're doing these things young, you don't think of marriage, you don't think of relationship. But that's what we need to be teaching our youth, is that they need to go in the mindset that whoever you try to pick and choose to be your boyfriend and girlfriend, then you need to try to cultivate that one relationship into marriage.
yeah.
That's it. That's, being boyfriend and girlfriend is just an audition for marriage. But if you're going to get into a relationship, then you need to treat it as if it's one.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. I don't condone any man, to be honest with you, under the age of 30 of trying to be in a committed relationship in these times. If the economy was a lot better, then yeah, go for it. But tell your children they can hold off on having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's make believe. It's all fun and games or whatever the case may be. But more importantly, when they are financially stable, when the daughter has learned how to um, take instructions from a man, and then also to cater to taking care of a family, those type of things, then they can go out and try to find someone with intentions on being married
Yeah.
and
That's
raising a
important.
family.
Yeah, because just being too sexually promiscuous in the past in general can even interfere with your connection with your spouse when you get into a committed relationship. It can make it difficult to trust your spouse if, in particular, like you mentioned, the man or woman may worry if their spouse is going to cheat on them, or, it just overall makes the spouse feel a little insecure about whether or not they can trust their spouse because they've been so sexually liberated in the past. And habits are habits. That's one thing that's really hard to just stop, especially when you're thinking about something like sex, which is a real intimate act. And it needs to, I think our society needs to go back to understanding that we are energetic beings. We really are. And because of that, we exchange energy when we have sex with the person. So you have to be extremely mindful of not only the person that you're having sex with and you're exchanging this energy with, but just also if you are able to do that commitment in that way, mentally, spiritually, because you have disconnected so many times by being sexually promiscuous and not caring, you disconnect and you're able
You
to
take it
just,
for granted. You take
yeah,
relationships for granted. That's what it is. Then you start looking at relationships in a material aspect.
yeah,
What can this person do for me that I can't do for myself?
yeah,
That's how you get there. That's how people get there with that type of mentality. Not only, like my wife said, you exchange energy, but you also exchange bodily fluids, parasites,
yeah,
like I said, viruses and bacteria as well.
yeah,
DNA, all
yeah,
of that DNA has been scientifically proven too, as well.
yeah.
So
I think of energetic parasites when you say get other types of parasites too as well that are exchanged, but I think of energetic parasites that in a way your body will start to attract negative people if you engage in sexual acts too often with lower vibrational dark energies. That parasitic environment will create the opportunity more so for you to keep engaging in those interactions with others. It's really going to make it hard for you to have that monogamous relationship with someone. That spiritual disconnection will certainly leave you energetically unaware and distracted by the superficial aspects of sex, like the self and the ego and pleasure of that moment.
mhm.
Yeah. And then, not only to mention you keep engaging in this, it's real. People, especially those who feed off of that energy, they will more likely attach to you because you are going to give off kind of a self-destructive energy along with your, promiscuity behavior, because in a way it is very self-destructive as much as it is glorified in this day and age. But we glorify a lot of things, not we, but society glorifies a lot of things that aren't healthy. So you just really have to be smart about not engaging in too many sexual acts and be mindful of the repercussions that can come along with it, because it's real. And then unfortunately, like you said, it isn't too much you can do about that. Once your past is done, once you've given your body to somebody, you can't, ask for it back. You don't get a refund. You don't get that opportunity to get that back. And, that really does have a profound impact on your present and your future relationships. And even the choices that you make, the people you associate with, all of that. As much as we don't like to talk about that, it is very much true. So unfortunately, it's not too much. I'm trying to think, is there anything that I can, we didn't have too much time to look at this question before we dove in tonight because you're a little late. But when I'm thinking about, is there anything that she could do to not lose a man because of her past? The most that I can think, it would be certainly, of course, learn from your past and not to keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. So don't go and keep engaging in, sexual acts with all these other men. That certainly isn't going to help. But maybe, what would you think? What do you think? I would think maybe just to highlight your good qualities more so over.
Well, no,
that. I don't know.
The answer, no, it's not tough. She needs to show a man that she wants to be intentional with, that she can be a wife.
Yeah.
Beyond everything else, women with these high body counts, what you all need to do is show men that you can take direction, take his guidance and leadership, and be intentional about being his wife.
Yeah.
That is all that you can do. Because understand this is that you're competing with somebody else, another female, I bet you, that possibly has a lower body count. And this is going to come down to one, looks, and two, how well you can fit his mold of what a wife is. So what she needs to do is understand her next partner's his expectations and his limits and barriers in the relationship, and live by those as best as possible, as she possibly can.
Yeah.
In order to win that man's ring, and he puts that ring on that finger.
Yeah.
That is all. That is what women can do with high body counts, and that's all they pretty much can do. And keep their tails at in the house, not going out and being disrespectful towards him and doing things like that and going ghost and all that stuff is not going to work. You need to be with that man and live as if that you are his wife. To be honest with you.
Yeah, you got to put up a lot of effort.
More effort. You got to put up a lot of effort and show that man that you're loyal, you're honest, and you're all about him, and whatever he needs, you got his back. And then hopefully too, he does the same for you. He's very intentional about being married to you, and then that he wants to be in your presence in the fact that you are a wife to him. This man, you may luck up and he never had a woman to do this for him.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I'm saying that is all that she really can do, and stop looking at a relationship about me, I, because I don't like the way she worded that question. Why does that even matter if I'm ready to be in a committed relationship? Because what she's still doing is thinking about the relationship as being about her and her commitment. But understand that she needs to put in committed work and being in a relationship, and she needs to go over the top with it.
Yeah, especially because he's drawing back a bit. This doesn't give you the opportunity to, draw back too. You got to go all in, like you're saying, and really.
She needs to go to counseling.
Yeah.
One thing she needs to prove to this guy, if she's trying to get this guy back, she needs to go to counseling first and let him know that, hey, I've been going to counseling about, these things, and I'm wanting to make myself marriage fit for you. And then eventually bring him into the fold of going to couples counseling. If she can see that this guy is the guy that she wants to be with, and then work through these issues about her high body count with him, because this is something that's not going to be erased in his
Yeah.
memories and things of that nature. And this is probably triggering towards him, to be honest with you. And he's probably going to, revert back and be angry sometimes just thinking about it and wondering why did I pick this woman? And then he has to be able to answer that question for himself. I picked her because she's loving, caring. She cooks meals for me.
Right.
I don't have to ask for nothing. She cleans. She helps me. She's my helpmate. And that is the reason why. And that is what he replaces that negative thoughts with.
Yeah, all the other good things. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. You gotta really show that. And then I think it is important to note that even if you feel like, you will be judged by being honest, you still have to be honest with your spouse, your person you're dating. I would say more so if I don't know how long y'all been in this relationship, but if it has been a good amount of time, honesty is super important for building trust. You have to be honest. That's how you really show them that, hey, I'm willing to be vulnerable with you. I'm willing to have these tough conversations with you. Don't start lying, because this is not going to really help you build that foundation that you need. And to be honest, honesty can really help you heal from your past. When you talk about your past with your spouse, it offers you the opportunity to process your experiences, to let go of any negative emotions, to, cultivate a greater sense of self-acceptance in a way, help build your overall self-esteem and well-being in the fact that, hey, I have gone through this in the past. I have done these things in the past, but I am also all in on being a different person and being a better person in the sense of being mindful of what I do with my body now and the decisions that I make and stuff like that. All of that will certainly help to build a stronger relationship with your spouse if he's willing to, say, hey, I get it. I know that you've gone through these things, you've done these things, and I'm willing to, accept it. If he is willing to accept it, then hopefully this does help create a foundation of openness and communication. But you certainly have to continue to be honest with him. Maybe hit him up and say, hey, to be honest, I feel like after this conversation that we had, you have drawn back. Do you want to talk about it? What made you uncomfortable? Is there some way that I can help, reassure you with, the fact that this was in my past and, I'm a different person and I don't act like this anymore? Just that level of maturity will certainly show that, hey, I am not the same. I think being sexually promiscuous is quite immature. So if you are willing to, step up and say like, hey, I had this going on. I understand it can give you some reservations and stuff like that. But, if you're willing to accept my past, I'm willing to show you how much of a brighter future you will have with me as, I go through this journey of growing and stuff. It's probably the the best that I can think of, but for sure, I would really consider talking to a therapist, a counselor, to really kind of help you develop strategies for yourself and how you can, explain the things that you've gone through in a way that doesn't demoralize yourself, but offers the opportunity to give perspective into the things you have done. And then, how you can communicate differently, how you can be differently, and highlight those good qualities more.
Well, and more importantly, draw closure. Draw
Yeah.
closure to that chapter of your life in which you were, I guess, learning and trying to mature.
Yeah.
So that is what that helps you to do, to draw closure and hoping that you can move forward.
Yeah.
And in a committed relationship one day. So
yeah, honestly, this is a very, as much as I don't want it to be, it's a very, very common thing when I listen online and see all these conversations that these women have about,
because you know why a lot of people put themselves in a position like this.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to go out on the weekend, drink, have fun, party, and the next thing you know, you're sleeping in somebody else's bed, and then you just rinse and repeat. Unfortunately, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
That's what you look forward to on the weekend. This type of behavior, as opposed to trying to find a husband or a wife Everybody is trying to be out here having fun. I get it. You all are working hard out there, and you just want to relax and find somebody to cater to your needs, and not having to do that for someone else or whatever the case may be, but not knowing and understanding that eventually all of this is going to catch up with you one day.
Yeah.
It is a thing. So
yeah. And I think I think about a study that I had read a while back, and it was just saying how I wish maybe I should try to find it and pull it up, because I think it could be very beneficial to this, but it just talked about how like promiscuous singles were basically messing up their, odds of being in a long-term committed relationship. And then those who had quite an
conservative,
extensive, more of an extensive sexual background, that they were reporting to be less happy in their relationships because of that background. And so just the implications of the decisions that you made in the past, how it still has a big impact on your marriage, even if you do find that spouse and you are in, a relationship, just how in general it can cause a disconnect between you and your spouse, and the ability to connect with that person, to pair bond with them in a way, and have that, exclusivity in a way. So I wish I could have pulled all this up again, but
yeah, I mean, that is true. Those are things that you need to overcome, and things that you need to get in order before you get married, because that is true, because the thrill of the chase. So you get all wrapped up in trying to find, somebody to sleep with on the weekend and those things like that, or especially those guys out there or those women out there who have multiple partners. And it is a thing to where that when you try to settle down and get into a committed relationship, it is harder for you to do so, because it was so easy for you to do whatever you wanted to do before you were married, and that involved sleeping with somebody else. And the excitement of that, because like we always say, marriage is boring. It is work, but being single and having the thrill of the chase and hunting and trying to find your next person to sleep with, it was fun. It is a fun thing, but not everything that's fun is good for you. So that's what we're trying to explain for you, and how it damages your current or future relationship. So keep trying to do these things, and then you're going to want to revert back to, I used to go out to the club and do these things and find women, or I used to go to the club and find men that did this and did that for me and all this other stuff, and it didn't equal up to anything.
Oh, here it goes. Hold on. It was, let me pull it up.
For those people on Instagram, we're showing graphs in the article on YouTube. So you could tune in on YouTube at Blueprint Family Jewels on YouTube, and you can see the graphics that we have up here.
Yeah. So this was actually from the New York Post, and this was, it was in April
of this year.
Yeah, of this year.
And the title is?
It was talking about, it was so basically talking about this new study. Yeah, the promiscuous singles are screwing their odds of a happy marriage. That's what it was. Yeah. And so the experts in family studies at BYU
Brigham Young.
What is it? Wheatley
Institute. Yeah.
Okay. Wheatley Institute have shown that 10% to 20% of married adults who have only had sex with one person, their spouse, reported having a happier and higher quality union than those who had many sexual partners before getting hitched. Now, the reality is, I don't know how many people are still virgins when they get married. So I think that this study actually talked about, here it goes. Okay, so it said in this figure, the chances of divorce after 5 years of marriage. So this was by marriage cohort and the number of premarital sexual partners. With 0 partners, the chance of divorce was like 5%. And then, this was in the 2000s.
Well, they took 3 eras.
3 eras, yeah.
Decades. The 90s, the 80s, 90s, and 20s.
Yeah.
So when these people got married.
Yeah. And in the 2000s, those who had one partner, their chance was like 5%. Their percentage was like 5%
of divorce.
And then one partner went up to 20%. 2 partners went up to 30%. Wow. 3 partners looks like 25-ish%. And then 4 to 5 partners still seem like 25. 69, 25, and then 10 plus partners, it goes up to about 35% of your
Chance
chances
of
of
getting
divorce.
divorced after
Yeah.
5 years
Yeah.
of marriage.
Now, of course, this isn't true for all people. A big part of this is going to play in how committed you are into your marriage, for sure. But I think a huge part of this would also have to deal with your ability to, like you said, want to get rid of that dopamine feeling of the thrill of the chase, of having all these different sexual experiences, things being different, all of that probably has a big thing. Because if after 5 years of marriage, we often talk about the crisis, that occurs in all relationships. So often, if you are so used to jumping from one relationship to the next relationship to the next relationship, you're more likely to jump ship when a crisis hits, which is very common within 5 years of marriage. And that is a scientific thing for sure. But it said also that just 1 in 10 married people who labeled themselves as highly sexually experienced could say that they're very satisfied in their marriage. It makes me wonder if that has anything to do with all the sexual experiences to compare your relationship with, maybe. Like if your husband or wife isn't the best you ever had.
I think that the important statistic dealing with the 1 in 10 is realizing that 9 out of 10 people who are highly sexually experienced could not say that they were satisfied with their marriage.
Yeah.
I think that is the real striking thing about that.
Yeah.
Is that the more sexual partners you have, the less interested you are in being in a committed relationship and marriage.
Yeah.
There's a lot that has to go in there.
Or very satisfied at least.
Right. So bottom line is to have lower sexual partners, the more satisfied and committed you will be with your marriage.
Yeah.
Statistics show.
This was a very good article overall. And, I think this, to be honest, is something that we all have unconsciously known, like if you
No, I don't think so. No,
Well,
because
dang.
people are still unconsciously out here doing whatever the hell they want to do and having all these partners, not thinking about tomorrow, not thinking about retirement. I even go as far as to say, like, retirement, being in a relationship until retire. People don't think about stuff that far. And it's sad, and I know a lot of you are going through traumas and hardships and just working hard out there and just want to have fun all the time. And that's what this society has brought us. But we need better guidance on someone, we need better people out here. Are we getting hearts? Appreciate you. We need better people out here delivering the right message, especially to our youth.
Yes.
About marriage and relationships, and stop keeping these high body counts.
Yeah.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
It's a really detriment to relationships and future relationships. This is the answer to keeping divorce rates low. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, keeping divorce rates low and then possibly decreasing the age in which people get married because they're looking forward to having sex with somebody,
which helps keep your body count low too. The earlier you get married, the less time you got to be out here collecting bodies and stuff. So that's certainly a thing too. But I always think, a sexual relationship is not just that physical exchange. It is psychological, it's physiological, it's a very energetic action that goes on, and we have to be mindful of that. You are merging 2 energies together. So please I always think about the sexual soul tie. When they usually just talk about soul ties like in general, somebody that, your soulmate or somebody you dated or something like that. But there's also a sexual soul tie that you have, that mental and emotional connection that you have with the person who you engage physically with. And that probably plays a huge part on, that sexual satisfaction that you have.
Well, not only that, is an imprint. You date this person, imprints on you. You remember them. Mm-hmm. You build memories with these people.
You think about it sometimes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then if you start in a new relationship, more than likely you spent more time with that person than you actually did with your current spouse. So, especially when you get older and you all are working more and hardly see each other. So,
you got to be mindful of that. Some other little thoughts I thought about as far as past decisions and in general how they have a profound impact on our present and future relationship and the choices we make and all of that. It's just knowing that your past decisions, they affect your self-esteem. So if you've made decisions that you're not proud of, if you engage in things that cause you to feel some sort of shame, it will certainly have an impact on your ability to form those deep relationships with
Right.
others, and it can even damage your existing ones. So that's something to be mindful of
Like
out here.
OnlyFans. That reminds me of those
Yeah.
OnlyFans, those women that do OnlyFans, even guys too that do OnlyFans. So
Yeah, that's a big one. It can also, of course, we talked about the whole trust idea. So it can certainly lead to conflict and jealousy and, it just overall make it difficult for you to trust within your relationship because of your past experiences that you have had. So being mindful of that too. And then also too, your communication. I think that made me think of this because when the lady says it makes me not want to, talk about my past anymore or whatever, you're starting to put up a guard. You're starting to be defensive.
Yep.
And that in general is going to make it difficult for you to communicate. And that is huge when it comes to being able to establish effectively a good relationship with your spouse. You don't want to have that guard up. That's going to lead to misunderstandings within your relationship. So certainly be mindful of that. And then also too, if you've had a lot of sexual experiences that have been negative, it will certainly impact your decisions on the type of spouse that you choose, the fears that you harbor within
and
yourself,
trauma.
the traumas that you have. Yep, all of that. You may have low expectations for men or women based off of all these sexual experiences that you have. It kind of taints your mind. So please be mindful of all the implications that can come from just, being out here engaging in sex.
Having high body count.
Yeah. Don't allow that. And one more thing, it can cause you to be avoidant. Another way of thinking about how she says, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." That's avoidance. It can come
Trauma.
off, it's trauma. You can end up being aggressive if somebody does ask you again, "Hey, what is your sexual experiences like?" You can come off maybe aggressive by not wanting to even talk about that. So that will also make it really difficult to resolve conflicts and, communicate within your relationship in a healthy way. So being mindful of that. And then also past decisions can impact your ability to forgive not only yourself, but others as well, especially if you have had any type of sexual abuse that's gone on, especially if you work within the sex industry. People don't talk about how those women and men get abused in those industries. And that is very much a lot of trauma that a person has to carry on, and be mindful of that. I don't think they glorify all the money that you could make on OnlyFans, but they don't talk about all the trauma that comes right along with it. So please just think about your past decisions. They don't have to define you, but you certainly have to learn from your mistakes, and you certainly have to make different choices, and choices that more so are going to align to the future that you want. So if you know that you want to be in a committed relationship, think from that mindset from the very beginning. That way, you're more likely to make choices and decisions that are going to help you to align with somebody who's also going to want to be committed with you. And that's more so the type of path you want to go down.
Right. Because if not, then you hold yourself responsible and accountable for the decisions that you make, and don't blame other people for that. Those are yours.
Yeah.
And then you figure that out for yourself with this information we gave you all tonight.
Yeah.
So with that being said, did anybody have any questions, comments, any more emojis?
Thank you all for joining us. We're a little late tonight, but thank you all for joining us and being with us. Thank you for this question that we received. We hope we have given some type of advice. This is a tough one, man.
No, it's not.
I think I only say because dang, you not only do you limit your dating pool in general just because of the guys, the marketplace value that has been placed on a lot of different things, you've limited yourself in a world where people aren't getting married much anyway. We do what we do now to try to encourage people to get married. And unfortunately, if you engage in too many activities that decrease your chances even more, it makes it even harder for you to actually have that deep and profound relationship that you really do want. So just really, that's the best answer to how you can avoid that and not, allow a good man to slip away. But I think go all in. Please don't back away, especially if he's a good guy and he hasn't, shown to be. Some guys, I think maybe if you talk about it, they can maybe be mean towards you.
Right.
But if he hasn't shown to be mean or, anything like that, he's just more so distant, like she says, then certainly go all in. This isn't a time for you to back up and be like, oh, run away. Nah, you better use that same courage you used to be out here engaging in unsexual stuff and go after that man if he's really, willing to still be with you and continue and learn more about you. Show him like, hey, my past is my past, but I'm a good woman and I'm willing to put in the effort and the work to change my behavior and show you that, hey, I'm a good woman and this is a good decision for you to make if you want to, if he wants to. You can't force no guy though, by the way. So, if he isn't engaging back with you after a lot of, time of you trying to show him, hey, I'm still in this. I want to be with you. Don't run away from me. Then, you might just have to move on to the next guy. But use that as an opportunity to be mindful. Certainly when you have this conversation, when you engage in conversations, how you engage in conversations about your past will certainly help you overall. So, yeah, that's all I got.
So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us tonight. And if you know anybody that needs to have heard this message, please forward it to them, share it, like, subscribe on Instagram and YouTube. We really appreciate it. We got Facebook out there too. I haven't been checking up on that, but we know you all out there. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will see you all again tomorrow night, same time, same place. Good night. Peace.